In this video, we're going to look at how we can set up the controller, SCU5 controller for width measurement with two sensors. I've got a couple of sensors installed here. One is 112, both of them are 112 sensors. One of them is looking at the left edge of the web and the other one is looking at the right edge of the web. When we are doing width measurement with two sensors, what we would ideally like to have is two sensors of the same range. That means that if we have a 112 here, we would also like to have the 112 there. And then we also want to have the two sensors with the same orientation. In this case, this particular sensor has the connector coming on the right hand side. This is behind the web. It's on the right hand side. And likewise for this connector, it's coming on the right hand side. And that's what we need because our camera has the pixel 1 here and then the nth pixel here, and then for here the pixel 1 is here and we have the nth pixel there. If we have one cable coming out this way and the second cable coming out this way, this camera has to be inverted, which is not ideal and it will not give you the correct output. Now, if both cameras are inverted, that's fine. We cannot have one camera straight and the other camera inverted. And that's an important thing that we need to keep in mind when we are using two sensors. So we have those two sensors. One is looking at left and the other one is looking at right. We're going to go into the controller and show how we can set that up. So go into the tools icon, power user, sensor. In this case, we had sensor 1 disabled, so we're going to enable that. And we also have the sensor 1 looking at the left edge of the web, so we're going to set that to left edge and we're going to set that to right edge for sensor 2. And then again, we're going to go into the operator screen, go into the sensor. Sensor 2 image is pretty solid. Switch over to sensor 1. The sensor 1 image is also solid. But the only thing that we want to do is we want to make sure that this automatic brightness, it's set to freeze, and then increase that brightness just a little bit, so that we have that. The web position is pretty close to the edge of the sensor. That's fine. If you need to move it, you can move it. So I'll just go ahead and move that sensor back in so that we have it within the range. And there we go. Now we can go back to sensor 2. Both sensors have the range set properly. And then next we need to make sure that the output mode is in analog output mode is in width. Again, we'll go back to 10 volts for now, just for measurement purposes. And then that's done. And the final thing that we need to do is to actually set up teach the controller for the width measurement. So if we go back to the setup, we can see that we have two sensors and the sensors are a certain distance away from each other. We actually don't know what the distance between them are, and the easiest way for us to set that distance is to actually teach the sensors for that distance. And again, for all width measurement applications, we want to make sure that the web is stable and we don't have any plane change. So it's supported between two rollers here, so it's pretty stable, and we want to make sure that we don't change that while we are running, in the sense of the plane change. Now, in order to teach the sensor, what we are going to do is we're going to actually measure the width of the web. So it's about 8 inches wide, and go into the controller here and go into the tools icon, operator, width, and just to make it easy, I'm going to go to the units, inches, and go to width, and then 8 inches is the nominal width. I'm going to set that to 8 inches, and then I'm going to keep the output type as absolute. And now I need to go in and press the teach button and then give it a few seconds and then accept. What this teaching procedure is doing is that it's taking the nominal width entered in this controller, and it takes the measurement from each sensor, and then it computes the distance between the two sensors. That's the way in which we're able to teach the controller for the distance between the two sensors. As long as the distance between the sensors are not changing, as long as we are not moving these sensors, if the width changed, you don't ever have to teach it again, because the teaching procedure is only setting up the distance between the sensors, and there's no need for us to teach every time the width changes. This is a one-time procedure, and as long as all the settings are the same, then we don't have to reteach the. Just like the single sensor mode, if you go into the controller, we can set the output type as absolute or error. So if we set it as absolute, the display value is going to provide an absolute measurement, and if the width increased or decreased, it's going to show that value. So if I put in an extra one, you can see that the value increased or decreased based on that. Now you can also set that up to error, and in this case it's going to provide an error output. So if I add something, you can see that the error changed, increased, and that's essentially it. So few things to keep in mind when we are looking at the width measurement with two sensors. So we have the sensor position indicators here. So we got the sensor 1 as the left sensor here and sensor 2 as the right sensor. Those are indicated, and we have a split screen here. The left side is showing the left sensor or sensor 1, and the right side is showing the right edge or the sensor 2. The green line here is showing the center line position of the web with respect to the two sensors, and then the label here shows the width, and then right now it's showing the error, and if we want to set it to absolute, and it shows the absolute value there. That's how we set up the width measurement application for two sensors. And in the following, we'll also look at the analog output when we have two sensors.